Welcome back to Ageless Rage, the podcast where we're always raging about how we're aging. I'm Dr. Stephen Bracci, and today I'm joined by Gregg Gianillo.
Yeah.
And he's a three-time award-winning hairstylist who is among the key stylists at Good Morning America, actually for 15 years and running now. And he's the owner of his own salon here on the Upper East Side. And thank you so much for being here, Gregg.
Oh, thank you for having me here for a really interesting conversation.
So today we're discussing how somebody's hairstyle and haircut can make you appear older, and how he assesses each and every client based on their natural facial features. And this has a lot of parallels to what I do in my world. So I thought that this was germane to bring him on and discuss these things. So first, Gregg, how do you assess a client's facial shape and features before you recommend a haircut or a style?
Well, when I first meet the client, I usually ask them to tuck their hair back. I focus mostly on the cheekbones at 1st, and then looking at the eyes, and then the distance between all three, meaning the jawline, chin area, cheek, and eyes. And I have to kind of look at that in the terms of like what their hair texture is, density is, because some hair could be really fine and then flat, and some could be really thick and be wide. So for instance, where you have cheekbones that are really wide and prominent, which are beautiful, want to accentuate that, sometimes we have to diminish the volume. But on others, it might be increasing the
Enhancing
volume.
it.
And so by enhancing that, that's kind of where I start, because everything is a balancing act, as you know. So that's kind of where I start in that facial feature area. But it really also, I also ask them like how much time they want to put into their hair, whether it be every day before work, or the maintenance of a haircut, such as that might be shorter, that they have to get more frequently. I try to,
Assess all that.
all of that, yeah.
In terms of how quickly they can get ready in the morning and
Some
such.
things like that, yeah.
I do a lot of the same things, and what I do is I look at people and I create this, we call it gestalt. You're looking at overall, and I see the ratios of their cheeks to their jawline. And that's even before I assess their volume loss with time and age, because that gives me a perspective on how I'm gonna fill and add support, because it has to enhance the natural architectures of the face. So Gregg, what's your strategy for creating a haircut that actually enhances somebody's natural facial contours and proportions? So how do you make those contours and proportions even better?
Well, I after I go through the process of looking at what's prominent in their facial structure and seeing what I think they should be focusing on, I actually take the hair in my hands and sort of mold it into the shape that I'm thinking. So I kind of can give them a visual without obviously cutting yet, where I can, for instance, if it's bangs, I can hold the hair in a way that it kind of shows.
You try to replicate what you're going to accomplish.
So I try to give them a head of the game look, a cheating look at what they're going to get. That's how I approach it with them.
So can you describe a time when you had actually go back to that. I do a lot of the same things because I try to educate people that I'm trying to enhance their features. A lot of times people will come in and they'll want bigger lips when they have deep nasolabial folds. And I try to explain to them, if we make your lips deeper, it will even enhance the depth of those folds, and it will draw more attention to your lips. You really want your lips look so pretty the way they are. We should frame those lips by adding a little support around it, so they're not as large relative to the folds. So it's a lot of the same techniques.
Yeah.
Can you describe a time when you had to gently steer a client away from some hairstyle that they may think that they want, and something that better suits them?
Yes. It's what stands out in my mind is a number of years ago. The client is still with me today, but it's got to be about maybe almost 20 years, if not a little bit more, maybe. He had just gotten divorced and was out in the dating world again, and he had a mullet that it was down past his shoulders, and he was thinning up top. And he just didn't visually see that he was holding on to length, thinking that it was still there and not really considering the fact that reality is happening and you're having receding hairline, and he's accentuating how much it's receding by leaving all that hair down the back of his head. And it was a big struggle, but I was able to open his eyes to the fact that if we do this, you're actually going to look like you have more hair if you allow me to manipulate the density. What he was doing was completely neglecting it and growing the hair that grew. But there was enough hair that actually, when I was done, he looked like he had a hair transplant.
Right. You look like fullness.
Yeah.
I can actually take the same parallel from me, because at one point I was advised to grow my hair longer, and it actually looked thinner.
Thinner, yeah.
And I had a client that came in one day and he said, "Doctor, I have to tell you, you look like you tried too hard. You should cut your hair." So I cut my hair, and everybody thinks I have a fuller haircut now, because it's, for me, because I have skinny hair. I don't have that much hair loss, but I have some, but it looks fuller. Mm-hmm. It's the irony.
Everything is a balancing out. So where I look at it, especially for men, there's a lot of men that want their hair in a certain look, and I've increased the volume of the amount of male clients I have, like, exponentially, because I address exactly what's going on in the front, and all of a sudden they're like, "Whoa, what did you do?" Like, I don't understand. And
right, because it has to match their face. It's not the cut; it's the decision making. That's the bigger issue.
That is such.
And then once you make the decision, you know how to get there too. That's another problem too, because you can make a decision but don't know how to get to the cut that would suit them.
They don't know.
Right, but I'm saying that's the difference between a skilled stylist is knowing how to get there once you make that decision. It's identifying and then knowing how to get there, how to execute. Right. So, and it's the same thing for my world. How do you help clients choose between trendy styles and those that are genuinely flatter their face and make them look better?
Well, I simply ask them what it is about that look that they like. For instance, there's been a long trend of this like loose beachy wave in different lengths and different like intensity. Some's tighter, some's looser, some's halfway in. It's all different looks, but it's visually the same kind of thing. And some people just want it because they see somebody having it. I try to let them know it very well might work. That shape on your hair texture might work, but we have to approach it in a certain way, because they might think, "Oh, can I get a haircut that's going to make it fall like that?" And that wave pattern is very rarely a natural wave pattern. Right. It has to be ironed in,
So it's a lot of effort.
There's more effort to be put into it, and some people are willing to do that. And if that's the case, it's great. But if I do something just because they want that look and they look great leaving and they can't replicate it at home,
what's the point?
It's a waste of my time, their money. It doesn't make sense.
It's interesting because I have the opposite problem. I create it, I do it, but then they get swollen and they can't see it, so they walk away like, okay. And I'm like, well, I had 2 minutes before you got swollen, so just the opposite. So what are some of the common myths clients believe about hairstyles, and how do you keep them so that they see what works best for them?
The biggest common myth about hairstyles is back in the day, I guess they used to say the shag, the bob, the this, the that. They kind of think like, what's in now? Like, is it this? And I'm like, I don't even know what that is. Did you make it up? Like there's the myth is that there's a certain cookie cutter one look. Those looks do exist, but they're not for everyone, and they're also not exactly the same length or shape for everyone. So you can have a bob, but you have to have it shaped to what works with, like a bob is terrible for a round face because it just could make it wider. It's not great for a square face. It can be if I remove some of the weight from the bottom so that it doesn't widen the jaw.
You have to tailor it to them.
I have to explain it to them and show them. The biggest thing that I've been able to achieve with my clients and building the trust right out of the gate, I have to be honest, I'm the worst client in the world. I been gotten so many bad haircuts that when I try and articulate with someone what I want, and I can tell they're not listening, I'm uptight about it. So I'm really
They're not processing it.
right, and I'm really very concerned about listening to my clients first of all, but them listening to me and actually seeing it. So I work with them and I show them exactly what can be done visually, right? Because sometimes there are hairstylists in this industry that are like car salesmen, you know, like they're like, oh, I could do this, I could do that, and they're all about the show. But if I can show someone, look at this is what's happening in the back. Look right here, this is a half an inch longer. Can you see that? Can you see this? And once they see it, they're like, oh my God, like it's indisputable. And then we're off to the races.
Right. You have to go through those steps. How can the right haircut impact somebody's overall appearance and, and confidence, similar to what I do with cosmetic treatments?
It's almost exactly the same. I mean, when you start enhancing the positives and diminishing the negatives, there's nothing else but confidence coming out of that. And that's what people see us for that there are opinions, our expertise. In both of our fields, it's because we can not only see it, but execute it like you had said. But when they get to the point of actually seeing themselves in a better way, regardless of whether it's the way they thought they saw themselves, but they really look better, that's the confidence level that just is through.
It goes through the roof. One of the things, Greg, that I see is a lot of times people will, one of the things that I try to do is do fillers in such a way that it's not noticeable. They don't look like they had things done. And often people come to me with having had bad work done, and that there's like a perception drift. They think that bad work is really the way they should look.
That's the way it's supposed to be.
And that's the way it's supposed to look. And I'm sure that parallels haircuts as well. So how do you approach somebody coming to you with a bad haircut and make them feel like you can get their trust and you can convert them to something that's better suited for them?
Well, again, that would be visually showing them. Like, but if I can manipulate the hair with just my hands, even sometimes I'll take a clip. If the hair is extra long and I'm trying to make it look shorter, I'll clip it. I'll manipulate it in a way that I can show them. Mm-hmm. And if they can actually see it, then I don't have any problems or apprehension. But, excuse me, if they can't see it, if I'm just saying, no, this is what it should, just do as I say, I never approached it that way anyway. But if I were to, I would imagine that I really wouldn't, people would be like, okay, I trust you, you know, just because of maybe hearing about me or something. But I don't like that. I like to build a legitimate, authentic
relationship
balance. Yeah.
So I think we've covered a lot today. I think the biggest thing that we take away from all this is that there's a lot of parallels and how a haircut and a hairstyle can parallels my world of how fillers can change the dimensions and the perspectives on the face. And we all know it can enhance beauty and it can actually detract from it.
Oh my God.
So it really can make somebody really shine or not so shine.
Exactly.
So it really takes away.
This is some women of a certain age think they have to cut their hair. And I'll show them if they do or if they don't have to. It's not everybody turns 60 and you have to cut your hair off. That doesn't exist. But then still there are some people getting extensions that are down to here like a stripper, and that doesn't work for your age. It has to work. It's all.
That's one of the things that I work with my clients is educating them that what I'm doing is I'm trying to restore the shape of their face to a more youthful one. They get so focused on wrinkles, but wrinkles are really a small part of the problem. It's the architecture and the shape of the face that changes characteristically as we mature. And if I can enhance their support system and make their shape of their face better, they'll look younger and they'll feel better and they have just a more rested, youthful look. So I'll wrap things up. Thank you for coming and following us for more on our podcast, Ageless Rage, and we welcome you back for the next episode. Thank you.